this was because myself and the third brother were quite frustrated that Henry Cavill wasn't getting any more movies, and we love Superman in this household, and he was just being waited for too long. So we spent a year actually writing 3 Superman scripts. We wanted there to be a trilogy of sequels, and as certain rumours and certain castings are slowly being released about James Gunn's Superman Legacy movie, the more I'm like, this looks familiar. So yeah, I wanted your thoughts actually, Judo, because I don't think you've read these scripts. I know third brother has.
Yeah, I've skimmed the first one a little bit, but really but that was only like the first half of it as well. So I have not heard them all, which is an opportunity for you to sort of debut them on the pod if you want.
Yeah, so here they are. So I even titled the movies. So this is sequel number 1. So the second Superman movie, and it is going to be called The Last Son of Krypton.
Woo!
The Last Son of Krypton kind of starts out... right, so we thought for this first one, we need to kind of readjust the tone of Superman. And we thought the best way to do that was kind of readjust Jonathan Kent. Make him a little less dour, a little more hopeful. Let's start seeing Superman save some people's lives. Right?
Very nice.
So, right. The opening scene was the bit that me and third brother were really, really excited about. We kind of started like patting each other on the back when we did this. So we've got a wide shot of an alien city. We're overlooking Kandor, right? This is clearly a flashback here. This is Kandor, bustling city. It's clearly like the cultural, economic, whatever centre of Krypton. And then we kind of intersperse it with what's going on in Metropolis. So we've got Metropolis in daytime, with intercut with shots of Kandor during the daytime, and a young Kara L?
Zor-El.
So I've messed it up already. So a young Kara Zor-El is basically just hanging around in her apartment. She's probably a young teen. She's hanging out with her father. And then all of a sudden, there's an attack on the city. There's an alien force which is attacking the city. And then we kind of cut that in with a shot of kind of like Star Labs in Metropolis. That is then attacked by, we've got in this script, Atomic Skull. So Atomic Skull is going to be our villain of the week, our filler villain, our fodder villain. So Atomic Skull is after something in Star Labs. He's kind of breaking down the buildings, breaking into the laboratories. He's shouting, he's angry, he wants something.
Sorry, quickly. This is the second one.
The second one.
Is this the first or the second one?
This is the first sequel. So we've written this for Henry Cavill.
Right.
We wrote this for Henry Cavill.
So it would be the second movie, but it's the first of your 3 movies. Right.
So, so we then start seeing that Kara Zor-El and her father are running through the streets of Kandor. They're trying to escape something, and Kara's father is confident that he knows where he can go. So he starts running towards his lab. With Kara in hand, and the city is crashing down around them. At the same time, just on the outside of Star Labs, the atomic beams that blasts is causing rubble and destruction outside of Star Labs, and we want a father and son on the outside who's basically trying their best to survive and avoid the falling rubble and debris. We then get into back to Kandor. We're back in Zor-El's lab. And we're then going to do almost the same origin that Superman would have had. He's doing what he can to try and get in an alien ship so that he's realised that Kandor is lost and there's only one way out of this. So he's trying to get Kara into a rocket. Kara's initially thinking that she's going to be joined by her father. Same sort of thing. The rubble is really, really falling. in Metropolis, the father looks at the son and thinks, right, all hope is lost, we're done now. I'm just going to do what I can to try and protect you and make you feel like you're going to be okay. Cut back to Kandor, and Kara's come to the realisation now that she's going to lose her father, but she's going to be saved, and he's sacrificed himself for her. She goes off on the rocket. The last thing she sees is Kandor basically being encased in something.
Right.
And then we go back to the streets of Metropolis, and then we have the father who's accepted his own fate to save his son, but then Superman comes in and saves the father as well. Kind of deals with the villain of the week, kind of throws Atomic Skull out. I don't want to go through every single minor detail. Throws Atomic Skull out. We think Atomic Skull is dealt with for the moment. Superman's doing the clear up, trying to help the people he can help, and then he does that thing where he hears something in the distance, realizes there's a meteor coming down just outside of Metropolis, and he goes to intercept it. It wasn't a meteor.
Spaceship.
Kara's spaceship, and that's where the story begins. And so the idea around this movie was essentially to have Superman teaching Kara the lessons of what it's like to have unlimited power, but still accept the inevitability of death, of failure, of the fact that they won't be able to save everyone. And he's going to be doing that by kind of relaying the teachings of his father, or his adopted father, Jonathan Kent. So there's going to be a lot of flashbacks. There's going to be a lot of Martha also teaching up Kara. There's going to be, we kind of thought about having scenes where Kara was initially kind of, her anger and her frustration at not being able to save everything kind of led her towards wanting to be trained up by Wonder Woman. So it would feed into the wider universe a little bit. But actually then realising that Wonder Woman and the Amazonians have to resort to certain tactics because they don't have the unlimited power that Superman and Kara have. And that all comes into play, and it all comes into fruition when essentially we get Brainiac. He's now come to Earth. Obviously he's got the encased city of Kandor. But as we know from the comics, the film will end with Kara's acceptance that although they have all the power in the world, there's still some things they can't do, like being able to free Kandor. At this point, anyway. So Kandor is trapped forever.
Did they get it back in this movie?
Yeah. So they'll defeat Brainiac. They'll save Metropolis from being encased itself. Save Metropolis from being encased itself. But then they still have to accept that actually the cities he's already attacked, we can't reverse that. There's certain things we still can't do, but there's things we can do to stop things from happening in the future. That was kind of like lesson one from Superman, that he's going to do absolutely everything he can to save everyone he can, but he has to deal with the difficulties and the hardship of actually he can't save everyone. It's still difficult. That was Last Son of Krypton. And kind of then feeds into the wider universe. We've then got things coming out of Star Labs. We've got Supergirl introduced. Great stuff. Hopefully.
Well, we'll see, because Zack Snyder stole the script. Sorry, James Gunn stole the script.
Then we've got the sequel to that, Truth, Justice, and the American Way.
Yep, you can figure that one out, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it is a pretty standard kind of retelling of the story.
Right.
And now this is where I think James Gunn's acting, definitely. So we've got Millie Hitchcock as Supergirl. She's been cast.
So, Alcott? I can't remember.
House of Dragon.
Yeah, because I've only seen her as
yeah. So he has a Supergirl. We know that.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got an Authority. So I didn't know anything about the Authority before they were cast. I had to look into them, to be honest.
Right.
But
it's Wildstorm, isn't it?
From what I know about them now, it feels a little bit like they're gonna end up being James Gunn's version of the Elite.
Yep.
And so my story was going to be very much about Superman versus the Elite, and how there are these new superheroes on on the scene. People are kind of tired of the fact that Superman is just kind of just dealing with the villain of the week, and they keep coming back, and there isn't a permanent solution. And then, as we know, the elite come in. They don't have any issues with using lethal force and using more aggressive tactics. And the story around this one, if you want to know what the script kind of looks like, just read Truth, Justice, and the American Way, because it will be kind of like a true telling of that. I think we've tried to kind of build up the universe and build up the characters to be able to kind of tell that in as true a way as possible. But then obviously the theme from this movie would be very much this is why I do things the way I do, because we have to be better than what we're fighting against.
Yeah.
And that will kind of rise Superman as this symbol of hope. And I think what was great about some of the Captain America movies, for example, was that actually he was someone that did good no matter what, and why that was important to the rest of the Avengers, to the rest of the Marvel Universe, as like a symbol. And I think Superman should be something like that.
Yeah, I feel like no matter who he's fighting, if it is the Authority or if it's the Elite, it can't just be like, oh, I beat them and I humiliated them. It has to be like a moral victory as well. There has to be a point that he's making about why it's better to do things his way and to be like him than it is to be like the Elite. Like, we have to see, like in a Marvel movie, not like in a Marvel movie, sorry, where the villain's making a really, really good point, and then like Falcon and Winter Soldier, yeah, these refugee camps are really bad, yeah, but I'm also going to blow up.
Yeah.
Like, so it can't be like that. The villains have to maintain their point, and we have to kind of be like, well, this makes sense.
This is the dip, yeah.
But Superman makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly. We want to be on his side.
Yeah.
Even through the difficulty, because that's what he has to do. He has to make difficult decisions that mean that he can retain who he is and what he means to other people. And what we've done throughout these movies is we've teased him, but we've actively avoided him, because there have been 7 or 8 Superman movies, and somehow he's managed to be in 5 of them, 6 of them. Lex Luthor is going to be the main villain of the final Superman movie that we wrote, which was Man of Tomorrow. So Lex Corp's being teased kind of throughout the movies, but never kind of explicitly dealt with. We've kind of avoided Lex Luthor for as much as possible. But what we find out in Man of Tomorrow is essentially it is just going to be the usual dynamic between the two. Lex Luthor is jealous of what Superman's become. As far as Lex Luthor is concerned, he's the smartest, richest, fittest a man can be.
Most American.
The most American. But he's still not Superman and never will be.
Yeah.
And that is mainly because he has that jealousy within him. So throughout the other 2 movies, what we find out in Man of Tomorrow is that as time's been going on, Lex Luthor's been doing what he can to create a team that basically can beat Superman.
Right.
So we're going to have Bizarro, we're going to have Metallo, we're going to have Parasite. And their origin story is going to be linked into basic experiments that Lex Luthor's been doing to find ways to beat him. So it's basically going to be those 4 villains up against Superman, and about how Superman can kind of defeat those odds and what lengths he can go to try and deal with that adversity, but still retain who he is, and how he's going to deal with people that are genuinely just built to destroy him.
Is Lex Luthor suiting up?
Yeah, he's suiting up.
Good.
Gotta have him suited up.
That I think that's my favourite thing. I think I don't like when it's just like, oh, he's orchestrating this stuff from behind, because the point is, like, he's narcissistic, like he's so egotistical. He has to be able to beat Superman himself. Yeah. He has to be able to fight Superman, on Superman's terms, instead of just... I think that was my main gripe with Batman v Superman, because it felt more like something, perhaps a Batman villain, or like a Hugo Strange or something would orchestrate. as opposed to something Lex Luthor would do. Lex Luthor's overt, like he wants everyone to know. He wants Superman to know who he is, how he's doing it, how he's going to beat him.
And so, the theme around this movie as well is actually what you can do as a community if you are doing the right thing. If you're the symbol for that community, if you're the leader of that community, and you are pushing the right messages.
Yeah.
What you get in return, and not that you should do things for the idea of for the promise of a return, but actually do things altruistically, and you realise how that will improve your life. Because when Superman's going to get defeated, or when Superman is beaten in the first or second act where he first meets these villains, there's going to be like a remember the New York moment in Spider-Man 1.
Oh yeah.
You mess with one of us, you mess with one of us. There's going to be a lot of that in this movie where actually there are humans who would deal with Metallo better than Superman would be able to deal with Metallo. There are going to be humans who can deal with Parasite better than Superman can deal with Parasite.
Right.
So it's not just about how strong can Superman be, but it's also how strong has Superman made the people around him. How strong has Superman made Metropolis? And yeah, that's the idea.
Kind of like Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Remember that animated movie?
Yeah. So a bit like that. I guess the fight scene in Washington DC, where he's up against loads of different villains, will be a bit like that. But I didn't really use that one as inspiration, because Lex Luthor's not going to be president. In that movie, I don't think there was much interaction with the public really.
It wasn't like that.
I don't really want Superman to have Wonder Woman come in. I don't want Superman to have Batman come in. Like, I think I'd rather it be the characters he's built up throughout. So the Jimmy Olsens, the Supergirls, Guardians, Double X, those sorts of characters that Superman would usually interact with.
Crypto the Superdog?
I always thought Crypto the Superdog would be a bit too wacky for film, but I don't see why not.
Well, they had Cosmo and a Space Dog, so James Gunn could do it.
He could do dogs.
Would do it.
Well. He does do dogs well. But yeah, so those were my three movies. That was the three movies that me and Third Brother wrote about 18 months ago, summer of 22.
Well, to be honest,
I tell you what though, the scripts aren't good. They end up being more ideas. I had a much more appreciation for writers and directors, because things take time, man.
You always need a first draft, so you've got to start from somewhere.
It's hard, man, because it's a lot of work.
I think your scripts, they do work for Henry Cavill, but they also could work for that, because a bit like with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, do you necessarily need... So I think later on in Tom Holland's series, it could have benefited from some flashbacks with an Uncle Ben.
Yeah, maybe.
But no one was kind of like, oh no, we